Hi folks, welcome to the OneOscar Advanced Takeoff and Landing tutorial. If you haven't already seen the first tutorial where I cover basic takeoff and landing and basic turning, go ahead and check that out. The link is in the description. I'm going to start today by showing you how to land from altitude. Instead of leveling off, I'm going to orient myself upright and keep my throttle at 100% to climb as high as I can with just the jet engine. And then when I stall out or I find an equilibrium between my climb and gravity, I go ahead and I initiate the spider engines that can be found on the new OneOscar FGMC Iron Oscar. It's got spider assist on the sides there, so when we need a little extra boost and a little extra thrust, you can just turn those guys on. Alright, so the real trick here, we're going to gain a lot of speed falling back towards the planet. All I'm going to do is level off. Just level off, and that's going to go ahead and take off a lot of our speed. And I can do this several times on my way down to the runway until I'm at a speed that is recognizable from the first tutorial for the basic landing. You can see I'm diving at over 100 meters per second. Level off. And we've gone from 150 meters per second all the way down to 100 already. We'll do it one more time. You notice the speed comes down from 100 down to 50 meters per second, and now we're in a familiar position, just like in the first tutorial, basic landing. This is exactly where you want to be. Next up, we'll work on vertical takeoff and landing. That's the really fun stuff. This is vertical takeoff and landing with just the Whittle engine. That's what they call the extra small one. So the first thing we do is pitch upwards, orient ourselves up. The coupler gets in the way, but it's all right. Throttle up all the way. You don't want to leave any throttle left. And as soon as you start to move, you'll pick up speed quickly. The jet engine takes a moment to spin up. So there's a delay. That's the biggest thing I can tell you about this method, is that there's a delay in the response time for the engine. As an extra assist, you can use the stability assist down by the nav ball. You can press the up button, and when you press that up button, the SAS does work for you. Now all I have to do is focus on directionality. Do I want to move left a little bit? Do I want to move right a little bit? And then the craft will reorient itself. The trick with coming down is that you have to think about the delay and when you're going to need the most braking power on the way. Now remember that you need 100% of your lift to take off, so it makes sense that if you use 100% of your lift to try and slow down, there's a good chance that you could just go right back up because you have enough thrust to take off with this engine alone at 100% thrust. If I wait till I'm at the bottom of my landing pattern to turn my thrust up all the way, I'll crash because of the delay. So what you need to do is you need to try and time it just right so that as you're falling, you'll generate enough lift to slow you down to an acceptable landing speed and then not take off afterward. So I'm using 100% thrust to slow down, but I don't want to take off, so I drop it just a little bit. And I know that all of these parts have a tolerance, like an impact tolerance. Next up, we'll do the same thing. We'll do vertical takeoff and landing, but this time we'll do the spider assist. This makes things a lot easier. It doesn't completely negate the delay from the jet engine, but it does greatly assist. Still going to use 100% throttle. I'll light up the jet engines, but as soon as I hit the spiders, we take off. And then if the vertical landing is too difficult, don't worry about it. You can just level off, turn the spiders off. I have them set to an action group to toggle, and then you can just do a regular landing. Or in the inset, you can use the vertical landing to put yourself in some neat spots, like Maybe you want to land on top of the VAB. I know that that's a challenge in the forums, and this makes it a lot easier to use this vehicle to do so. I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's a lot easier with the spiders to try and land on the VAB or do precision landing at all. And don't worry about rolling, it's cool. It's a totally acceptable way to land your OneOscar or to move it around is to roll it. So let's put it all together. So we learned how to land from altitude, and we learned how to do some neat precision landing. The same mechanics that we used for the vertical takeoff we can use for precision landing. So we'll do a basic takeoff, and then here's an ascent profile that's not vertical. It's just a standard climb. Pick an angle that's easier for the wings to help produce lift. So I've picked an angle that's not too steep. It's just steep enough to get us climbing within the space center. And where's the spot I want to land at? Right there. I'm gonna pick one of these landing pads as a landing spot to show the precision landing using the Spider Assist vertical landing system in the OneOscar FGMC here. Just as before, we're in a dive, about 150 meters per second. Throttle is off. And I'm going to pull back and level off my flight. And doing so is a turn, it's a maneuver. The air resistance slows me down. And I'm going to do that a few more times until I get myself oriented in the direction I want to go. And at the altitude I want for landing. Now that I'm on the heading that I want to be on, I'm just going to continue on with half throttle. I don't have to go fast to do this. In fact, slower is a lot easier, requires a lot less fuel. And then just before I get there, I'm going to pitch up. I get myself in the vertical position. And then we aim the tail end of the craft at our landing spot. Gauge the spider engines, and look at that, the engine was already spun up, so it didn't take a whole lot to start slowing it down. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the conclusion of this advanced takeoff and landing tutorial. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and get your OneOscar today, take a trip in it, practice. Come see me at the forums. Let's have a good time, folks.